Hey everybody, thank you for stopping by. This is Never Enough Time. My name is Brandon Hyatt. You have found the inaugural episode of a new watch channel. Now I know you're saying, hey, does YouTube really need another watch channel? Well,
Do you really want to live in a world without Coca-Cola?
so here's what we're going to do. Today we're going to review the Seiko SKX. Let's get into this.
I said, baby, 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 let's waste some time.
My name is Brandon Hyatt, and as I mentioned in the intro, this is a new channel about watches. I want to take just a minute to introduce myself and to introduce what the channel is all about. For myself, I've always had an interest in watches, but it was really ignited when I went through something very similar to what we're all going through right now. And if you have no idea what we're going through right now, one, God bless you. Two, Google April 2020 and read about the stuff that's going on. But I was diagnosed with stage 3 cancer, which meant I went through a very aggressive treatment program of chemotherapy and radiation. That attacked my immune system, so I had to social distance. Except that in 2018, that wasn't a word. I was more like,
Get off my lawn.
So yes, saying, oh, I'm social distancing would have been a much more polite and appropriate response than the way I typically dealt with it. But regardless, it was during that time that I was going through organizing stuff and was going through wedding albums and actually found a wedding video.
Wait! I want one last chance to enjoy single life. Okay, ready.
In that wedding video, I was wearing a watch, and it just sort of hit me that a watch is something that is with you all the time on your wrist. And there's those big moments in life where a lot of times we say, oh, I wish I had something to remember those times by. And photographing is a good way to do that, but a physical monument, if you will, that can connect the past, present, and future oftentimes can be something we wear. In this case, a watch really can transcend generations. So that's what really got me back into the hobby and into the watch collecting sickness, if you will. So this channel is going to really be about two things.
You're talking to the Rolex wearing, diamond ring wearing.
No, not those two things. It's going to be about watches. We have a whole bunch lined up for you. Hundreds maybe, and these are watches that will get a significant amount of time on the wrist before review happens, 50, 60 plus hours. And I think there's a lot of channels on YouTube that do a really good job of breaking down watches without having to spend a lot of time with them. They have way more experience, way more knowledge, and perhaps they've been doing it way longer. I'm a hands-on type of learner, so I simply want to add that voice, those data points to a growing watch community here on YouTube that will relay real life experiences. It won't take things too seriously. This will be a very lighthearted approach to it because I think we need a little bit of mood uplifting these days. So that's one thing the channel's going to be about. The other thing, it's going to be about you. What I would really love for you to follow me on Instagram at Never Enough Time. And as you take a look at the photos I'll be putting out there, if you have a special memory of a particular watch, a special moment that occurred while you were wearing maybe your favorite watch, post that on Instagram with the hashtag Never Enough Time so I can see it easily. And I will be featuring those watches on a weekly basis if we get enough. And I think that connecting stories to actual images and sharing those uplifting messages, I think could be a lot of fun, and I'm really looking forward to that part of it. So enough about me, enough about the channel. Let's review an icon, the Seiko SKX.
Get ready.
Okay, let's jump into it. When we look at the dimensions of the Seiko SKX, we're looking at 42, 22, 46, 200. That kind of reminds me of a date I had once in college. But 200 meters of water resistance, Hardlex crystal. So a very durable, purpose-built Seiko SKX. So when you get this watch, what are you getting? Well, you get a very photogenic watch. And that I think is important when you're new, but I also think it's kind of fun for everybody if that's the sort of thing you're into with social media, Instagram, sending photos to friends, whatever the case is. The SKX really photographs quite well, and surprisingly, not all watches do photograph that well. So that's something that has been very fun. Second, you get charm and a very classic appeal. This is a watch that has a color scheme that's been going on for decades. It is universally well liked and loved. So and as you wear it, you actually start appreciating the charm of it, the functionality, the purpose of it, which leads to the next thing, which is it's a very tough, durable watch, and something that I've been able to use in a lot of different elements, a lot of different places, and it gets a little nicked or beat up, but it's solid. And so at the end of the day, this is just a very solid everyday watch. It's a watch that looks good in a casual jeans and t-shirt. It looks good with a suit. It looks good in a lot of different cases. It's obviously not a very formal piece, so if you're thinking about, suit, it's still kind of on the casual side. And, finally, the luminescence on it is amazing. It's the proprietary Seiko Lume that is, I think, legendary is a good way to put it. So those are really the high points. This is a good, tough, classic, durable watch that will suit many occasions. In fact, I think it really can fit if you're the type of person who just wants one or two watches. I think this could be one of the watches. It just checks a lot of bases. So what doesn't it bring to the table? Well, it is in some ways a little bit outdated. It almost has a vintage feel, even in terms of the movement, the functionality, and the crystal. Sapphire crystal is kind of a standard crystal to be using these days. Hand winding and hacking features don't exist on this watch, and that is something that isn't that big of a deal if it's your daily wear. So for those who don't know, hacking and hand winding, hacking simply means I can stop the second hand precisely to synchronize the watch. And hand winding is if the watch stops, I can actually unscrew the crown and wind it to get the second hand going again. This watch is automatic without those features, so it requires movement to be running. So if you just wear it for a day or two or every now and then and you take it off, the watch is almost always going to be stopped when you pick it up again. If it's your daily wear and you're wearing it Monday through Friday, you could probably take it off and be fine somewhere till Sunday night or maybe even Monday morning, depending on the watch. I think the mileage may vary for each person. It gets a little bit different. So I don't think there's a ton of downsides to it. Really, the downside is the relative sort of dating of the type of watch it is. It feels a little bit older when, so many micro brands now have better materials, better finishing, better even functionality. But typically that comes at a higher price tag as well. I think the other thing that is a bit of a drawback as we speak here, April 2020, is this watch is probably $100 more than I paid for it. I was a little bit under $200 when I bought it, and that's not too many watches can compete with it in that range. But I think when you add $100 to that, you bring in a lot more competitors that are, within striking distance of that and with better materials. So, I think at the end of the day, this isn't a great watch as I've gone through it. I think there's a lot of micro brand watches that are actually built and finished better, but it's a good watch. It's staying in my collection because of the sentimental attachment being the first one and of the moments it's been on my wrist. So that's the brief rundown of the Seiko SKX and where it fits with me. Fun, tough, durable, classic, everyday watch with its own minor niggles and drawbacks that I think add to the charm. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Leave some comments. But really what I'm after is those stories. So head over to Instagram, #NeverEnoughTime, and let's start sharing the meaning that these watches have had in our lives. Thank you, and we'll catch you on the next one.